And we are back with Lisa Waters Lane in the studio. She comes each week with your garden questions. Just what are people talking about in the gardens? And people, the gardeners are still out. They're still talking. So it's interesting how many. So there's not a lot of customers coming to the garden center, but they're hardcore and they're steady. Have you noticed that? So, and they're very enthralled, very engaged.
Oh,
so
definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. Coming in, checking out seeds, seeing what plants you have. Lots of house plants.
Lots of houseplants, lots of seed.
You can tell a gardener they got to nurture some things.
Yeah. And then frequently we'll see them back like the next day. So, I was thinking about the other one. And I took this one home and in fact, one gal, she came in, she goes, have you named it already? She was here like for an hour and a half picking just the right one. She, oh yeah, I named it. It's Henry. Taking it home. I got the perfect spot for Henry. No, well, they're very good. Just chit-chatting. She's back in today. Get another one because she was thinking about where that space, where it was going to go. So it's kind of gardeners are so interesting, fun.
Good people.
They're good people down there. And typically dog and cat people.
That's true.
Horse people. I don't know. Not everyone. We've got one bird person. They bring their birds in. Yeah, it's kind of super fun. We love it. And, they might buy us something every once in a while, but basically it's an outing for them and their animals. So we'd love to see dogs here. So keep them on a leash, have some decorum, but we love seeing the animals here. So it's kind of fun for them. We've never seen a horse here at the garden center. That's kind of awkward. How do you bring them in? And
it could happen.
Although you were raised right here by the garden center and you've always had horses. And so you used to ride your horse across basically Iron Springs Road.
Across Iron Springs Road, heading up where Forest Trails is now.
Yep.
We used to horseback ride back in there.
Yep. That's amazing. You just don't, now it's all built up.
Oh yeah.
And so you don't do that like you used to. Are there even trails, paths to get through any more of the properties? I mean, there's no easements.
I think it's maybe cut off.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
It's sad. We're all grown up now. What are people talking about?
Well, there are some things going on out in the gardens. First question is from Darcy in Prescott. So she had some deer come through her yard, kind of roughed up some aspen and some birch, caused some damage on the trunks. Wants to know, do you leave it? Do you try to cover it? What's the best way to handle that? Yeah,
so that's a natural effect. If you go in the forest, most of the time, especially younger aspens, you're seeing this scarring, this black, basically scars up and down the trunk, and those are deer. And so it's one of two things. Sometimes they'll peel off the bark and eat it. If there's not a lot for them to eat, they'll eat the bark. They're bark eaters or branch eaters. So they can do that. Or, and I'm not sure when this happens, but it could easily be now, the bucks will come through and they get this velvet on their antlers and they like to rub it off. And what are they going to use? They're going to rub it off of the trees that are around. So they're scratching stuff. It's not good for the tree. It can cause death and decay of that one branch. Aspens are typically multi-trunked. Right. It can damage that one trunk that comes up. It's pretty easy to recover if that happens. We've got what's called pruning paint. It's like this black tar stuff. It's not toxic for the plant. It's not toxic for you. It's just it's a sealer that keeps the insects. It helps the moisture flow up and down the trunk of that tree. And so it kind of it gets rid of some of that damage. I would get some of that. Now, if they keep coming back, that's a problem. Once they come back, they do it once, they're going to do it again. There they have what we've got, tree bark wrap. So they've got a wrap that goes up around the bark. It would be wise to maybe put that sealer on there and wrap it. So you're creating this almost a bandage or an extra layer of bark, and the deer won't mess with that stuff. They don't like it. If it's really bad, so we had elk down in Skull Valley, they would come in and do the same thing on, let's say, big walnuts or different fruit trees. There they'd come and rub or eat the trees. Mules, they'll do the same thing. There we take, of all things, it's getting creative. We take bird netting, and there's this 1-inch square plastic light netting. Wrap it a couple times around the trunk. just staple gun it. Just staple it right to the trunk. So it's kind of floating there. The trunk was floating inside this netting. That really did stop
Yeah,
them coming in and eating. They didn't like to mess with it. There's too many other things for them out there. And if you put a deterrent at all, they'll move on to your neighbors. And that's the goal. Get them over to your neighbor's yard, not your yard, eating their plants and messing up their aspens, not yours. So hopefully that helped Darcy a little bit.
Yep, sounds like it. All right, next one is from Tim. He's in Chino. He has about 5 apple trees on his property.
Right on. Yeah.
He's struggled with codling moth.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So, which is a struggle. But he wants to know, what's the best plan of attack when dealing with codling moth?
Yeah, so we should explain that for folks that don't know what bugs are in fruit.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get a worm inside an apple or a pear, that's always a codling moth. It's a cute little moth, maybe a quarter to a third inch long, tiny little thing. She comes and lays her egg inside the flowers. It's just blooming. She'll lay her egg right in there, and the fruit will actually form over top of that egg. And so the fruit actually protects it. Once that happens, there's no recovery. You're going to have a worm inside that egg because it's got all this, it's got an apple surrounding it. She does that on purpose. It keeps praying mantis and ladybugs and the other things, lacewings that eat her eggs. She's doing it strategically. So the secret is, as that fruit, as the apples and pears, specifically for Tim, as your apples and pears bloom, as the blossoms start to drop, spray it right then, because she's laying an egg right then with dormant oil or horticultural oil. Probably use the lighter grade oils because you don't want to damage your fruit, your flowers. So horticultural oil will eliminate that first crop. I would say, first and foremost, prune, clean, spray with horticultural oil. So at least you're starting the season clean. You're going to have waves of moths come at you as the flowers open, but at least you start clean. Guaranteed, there's moths that laid eggs inside the bark, the trunk, the branches right now, much less all the other stuff that's there. So you always start the entire yard with pruning, get done with that, and then spray it. Typically, the middle to end of February through March, just spray it clean everything up with horticultural oil. But then again, specifically because Tim's had problems with his 5 apple trees, when those trees are opening and the petals, it looks like it's snowing almost. Spray it right then. Spray the blossoms right then again, and that will eliminate that first crop. Now the problem is we have 3 or 4 waves where our growing season's so long. We have 3 or 4 waves of codling moths, so they make what's called a codling moth trap. And so you set this trap up inside. You hang it from the branches, and you'll read some blogs out there going, oh yeah, put one trap, takes care of all your problems. You'll have no more moths. That is not true. Personal experience. It's a monitoring system. So you can see when they're active. So it'll just sit there idle. So it's a triangular shaped moth. They put a pheromone little stopper in there almost. I don't know what's in there, but they're attracted to it. You go in, nothing happened. Like 3, 4, 5 weeks later, you'll see a couple moths. You come back a couple days later, the thing is filled. You're going, oh, that's my cue. Spray it again right then, and you will eliminate that next set of moths. So you'll need a codling moth trap, some horticultural oil sprayed twice before it even sets fruit. So after you're done pruning while it's still dormant, and the second time when it's in full bloom, everything is pollinated, and the petals are starting to drop on the blossom, spray it right then, and then monitor it with your codling moth traps throughout the season. And I would say do that with all your fruit trees. The first 2 sprays, do it with everything. So prune, plums, apricots, nectarines, peaches, cherries, all of them. Spray with the horticultural oil. It's a least expensive organic solution to bugs you can get. And it's worth the $20, whatever it is, to clean up your whole yard. Roses, clean those up. So I went on way too long about codling moth, but we're out of time. So great question, Tim. Yeah. So Ken and Lain, the Mountain Gardeners. Be right back.